Almost Famous with John Shea. Featuring local and independent musicians from the South Shore, Boston, and New England. On 95.9 WATD.
Welcome to the tiny stage hour of Almost Famous, 95.9 WATD, introducing you to independent bands and musicians from across New England, brought to you each week by Tiny & Sons Glass. Now, first things first, if you're a local musician with original music you'd like to hear on the radio, get in contact with me. All the information is up on the Almost Famous page at 959watd.com. Follow us tonight on Facebook and Instagram at Almost Famous Radio, and subscribe to our podcast by searching Almost Famous WATD on your favorite podcast app or at almostfamousradio.com. My name is John Shea. Tonight we're being joined on the tiny stage by an old friend, Grace Morrison. How you doing?
I am so happy to be here.
It's good to have you back. I missed you.
I missed you too. And this is like a momentous occasion because it's the first time I've worn real shoes in like a year and a half.
That's amazing. How do they feel?
Tight.
What color are they?
These are orange and black Fluvogs.
So no like ruby red slippers or anything like that?
I do have ruby red slippers at home, and I debated them.
Next time.
I know. No more Crocs, though.
I love it. Yeah, I'm wearing sandals.
They're comfortable.
It is. It's great. It's radio. Nobody can see. So for those who might not be familiar with you, even though you've been here a number of times before, introduce yourself.
My name is Grace Morrison. I say that I'm from Cape Cod, although a discerning Massachusetts resident might call my bluff on that.
Yes, I think you're not quite over the bridge.
I'm from the gateway to Cape Cod.
The gateway to Cape Cod. I like that even better.
Right? I skew more Cape Cod than Boston. And I've been writing and playing my whole life. This is the only skill I have.
I love it. And a new album that just dropped on Friday. Let's talk about that.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this one. I've released 2 solo albums prior to this one, but I don't know. This is the best one in my opinion.
That's cool. I have to say, we mentioned it's radio. We can't see anything, but I'll try and post a picture up on our Instagram. But I love the graphics on this album. It kind of has both kind of a millennial vibe, but also kind of a throwback to like the 60s and 70s.
I am so glad that you got that from it, because when I called the graphic designer, I told her I wanted it to have a retro vibe and I wanted it to look like candy.
It does. It's kind of like Lisa Loebish, a little silly.
Yeah, yes. The artwork was heavily influenced by Lisa.
Cool. So it's been an interesting year and a half.
It has been an interesting year and a half, and I hesitate. I'm trying to find the right way to phrase this, but I found a lot of silver linings, because this thing wouldn't exist without the past year and a half. Like I was just put in a situation where it was create music or like lose my brain. So.
The last time that you were here, you had just become a mom. And over the last year and a half or so, how has that experience been through COVID?
Well, he's 2.5. Any parents out there will know exactly what I mean. And, the funny thing that I keep thinking about is when I first got pregnant, like my vision of motherhood was going to be this one where like I would sit down with my guitar in front of him and he'd look at me so excited to sing songs with me. But the reality is that I get my guitar out and he goes, "No, mama, no singing."
So let's start off with a song. I know you've got the new album out. You just got back from a little tour promoting the album. So what are we kicking off the night with?
I'm going to start with Things You Already Know.
Okay, we have Grace Morrison on the tiny stage, 95.9 WATD. It's all yours.
Things you already know by now. I'm weak when you come round. Without saying a word, you calm me down. Secret looks, secret smiles and scars from battles we have won. We're standing up, but we've come undone. lesser man. Without saying a word, you've held my hand. Grieving ghosts that are gone and left you carrying their burden. We're standing up, but still you're hurting. I don't say it enough, you don't make me so. I don't say things you already know. No, I hope you never doubt that I'm here for the long haul. Sometimes you've gotta say it all. I don't say it enough, you don't make me so. I don't say, but I hope you can feel it. Oh, I should say things you already know. No.
Grace Morrison on the tiny stage tonight, 95.9 WATD. Talk about how you wrote that.
So I, for the first time in my life, joined a club of sorts during the whole pandemic. You may or may not know this about me, but I don't fit in with anybody. My whole childhood was like trying to fit in some sort of group. So I got invited to the songwriting group. And, every week you get a prompt and you must write a song to that prompt or you get kicked out. So I've written a lot of terrible songs in an effort not to get kicked out of my first club. But that one was it was the result of a prompt called Tell It to Me. And I was just thinking about how easy it can be to take people for granted, and especially people that you see every day, and how easy it can be to forget to tell them that you love them just because you assume they know. So that's where that came from.
So how does that differ from how you usually compose?
Oh, gosh. So it differs in that in the past, I would just write when I felt I had a song within me. It was like this really hippy-dippy way of looking at things. And I think the thing that flipped the switch for me was when I wrote with Lori McKenna, because I asked her, I had heard another songwriter say, you've got to wait for the creative window to open. And Lori kind of said, in not the same words, she said that was baloney. Like, you're a writer, so you write.
Yeah.
And so, keeping that thing in my mind and then having to write the prompt every week, I was just writing because I'm a writer. So that was the difference.
Do you think that kind of helps exercise muscles that you may not knew were there?
Oh, absolutely. Because in the past, I would just kind of write the song and whatever came out would be the song. But there's so much more to it. I mean, you can go back and edit, and you can try to force yourself to write to a groove that you wouldn't ordinarily find. It changes your songwriting so much when you make yourself sit down and write no matter.
I usually wait till later on in the show to ask this question, but I'll throw it out there to you now. How do you know when a song is ready?
That's a great question. Some of them I'm just like, the song's not great anyway, so it's not worth the effort, so it's ready. It just is what it is. But I think for me now, when it tells the whole story in a way that the listener doesn't need a lot of my description to discern the meaning, and when the melody is stuck in my head days after writing it, that's when I know.
So thinking back to when I first met you, I think that was about maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Just about you were writing about King Henry VIII, I believe it was.
Yep.
How did we get from King Henry VIII songs to songs about motherhood?
Mm-hmm. So, I was thinking about that recently because it's a little bit of a jump. I went from King Henry to diphtheria epidemic and the Titanic to motherhood, But really, when I was writing more about historical events, it was still trying to find the story that a person could relate to in their everyday life. Trying to find the humanity in historical figures. And so the difference now is really just that I'm gleaning most of this from my own life.
Because what I liked about your early career, and even some of the songs that you're releasing present day, is that a lot of them may not be so much personal, but they're definitely character-driven.
Yes. Yes. I always, when I'm writing, I'm always putting myself in a character's mindset, or trying to. Some of the songs on this album aren't necessarily about my own experiences, but those of the people that I love. And so it's me trying to get into their mind and figure out why would they have made this choice, and why do they feel the way they do. It's like people watching through song.
And that is Grace Morrison. She is joining us tonight here on the WATD Tiny Stage. Let's do another song. What are we listening to next?
Let's do it. We're going to do Put the Bottle Down. And this is most definitely from my own experience.
Okay, we have Grace Morrison. The Tiny Stage is yours. WATD.
The devil's got me, is all you can say when you've been at it again. Some small atonement is all you can give. More flowers dipped in gin. But then you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, standing up and out the door. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, who put the bottle down low? They didn't cover it up and let everybody know. Oh, who put the bottle down? Oh, who put the storm in the back of your head? Running from thunder, hiding under your bed. Oh, who put the storm in your head? And who put the bottle down? The scent of you lies so rich on your breath. God, the wine must flow. I come home dirty from the lengths that you go to make sure Mama don't know. But then you're like 1, 2, 3, 4, standing up and on the floor. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, who put the bottle down low? Didn't cover it up and let everybody know. Oh, who put the bottle down? Oh, who put the storm in the back of your head? Running from thunder, hiding under your bed. Oh, who put the storm in your head? And who put the bottle down? I tuck you in like a baby. Take your shoes off, like you say this is the last time. This is the last time. And you let everybody know. Oh, who put the bottle down? Oh, who put the storm in the back of your head? Running from thunder, hiding under your bed. Oh, who put the storm in your head? Who put the bottle down?
Grace Morrison on the Tiny Stage. 95.9 WATD. Talk about how that was written in a little bit more detail, if you would.
Certainly, yeah. So that song started as a little noodle. Like I was just, I took the capo off, but I was just kind of playing around with that little thing on my electric guitar, which is an instrument I rarely pick up. So that's where it started, and then I just started singing that one. The subject is something that has been I don't want to say traumatic, but I guess kind of traumatic, that a particular relationship I had, and I just needed to get it out.
And one thing I love about your music is, for as long as I've known you, your music has not only been, lyrically driven, but also driven by unique riffs.
I'm so glad that you catch that, because those are the things that I like when I'm listening to music, like little tiny hooky earwormy things,
We are up against our first break of the 9 o'clock hour on the Tiny Stage. My name is John Shea. This is Almost Famous. We're being joined in studio tonight by Grace Morrison. We have a lot more to chat about, more songs to share as well, so stick around right here on 95.9 WATD.
And now, back to Almost Famous on 95.9 WATD.
Welcome back to the Almost Famous Tiny Stage here on 95.9 WATD, introducing you to independent bands and musicians from across New England, brought to you each week by Tiny and Sons Glass. My name is John Shea. Follow us online tonight, Facebook and Instagram at Almost Famous Radio, and subscribe to our podcast, which you can find by searching Almost Famous WATD on your favorite podcast app or at almostfamousradio.com. And tonight we're being joined on the Tiny Stage by Grace Morrison. How you doing?
I am a happy camper.
As am I. I've missed you.
I've missed you too. My circle of people I speak to has been very, very small.
Well, I'm glad to be included in what's left of it. So introduce yourself again, if you would.
Yeah, I am a Cape Cod-based singer-songwriter, and this is my third album.
Fantastic. It came out on Friday. Give us the details.
Yeah, so I spent the pandemic writing and recording this thing, and I think maybe the thing that's most exciting for me about this record is that Lloyd Maines is playing on it.
Ah, cool. The one thing we didn't mention is the name of the album.
Oh, yeah, that might be smart. It's called Daughter.
Any special significance to the name?
Yeah, so, well, if you look at the track listing, track 1 is Daughter, and the last one is Mothers.
Okay.
And Daughter is not about my son. It's about me. But the whole theme of the record is stepping into your power. And like I talk about it in a couple of interviews that I've done. Like the reason I wanted the front cover to be me looking at the camera is because I've spent so long being afraid of people and lacking confidence that I just wanted to have this record be like, hello world, this is me, and not apologize for it.
So wait a second, you've cheated on me with other interviews?
No, not in radio, John, not radio interviews.
I wouldn't mind. So you mentioned that you are from Cape Cod, and I have a lot of artists on the show from the South Shore. I have a lot of artists on the show from Boston. Not that many from the Cape. So how would you describe the Cape Cod music community, or the gateway to Cape Cod music community?
I've got to tell you, I've got a lot of really wonderfully talented singer-songwriter friends on the Cape. And we all know each other, and we're all friends.
That's cool.
Yeah. But I think, it's interesting because, when you say you're from Massachusetts, people say, oh, are you from Boston? And I think a lot of folks just tend to say Boston because it's easier. But I bet some of those people might skew more Cape Cod.
I'm sure of it.
We have many gems.
Absolutely. So how would you describe your songwriting?
So, we had talked earlier about how my songwriting changed. And I missed the most integral thing, John, because prior to this album, I played with a trio. And before I always toured with a trio, I had a band. And so my writing before was always, I had in mind how it could be live and what the other people performing with me would be contributing to the songs. These songs on this album, I wrote specifically to play solo.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was an interesting shift because, when the pandemic hit and all of a sudden the only performing I could do was online by myself, I thought to myself, oh, shoot, I can't do those songs because they have all these parts that I can't do all by myself. So it was necessity, really.
Share with us your website and any social media information you have out there.
Sure. So it's gracemorrison.com with 2 R's and 1 S. And I'm on all of the social media platforms on Twitter and Instagram. It's Real Grace Music And on Facebook, it's just Grace Morrison.
How about TikTok?
I am on TikTok. I would have to go get my phone and double check what my handle is on there. But I am on TikTok.
Let's do another song.
Oh, so this one does have an important message we can talk about after. But someone very close to me has been struggling with an eating disorder for the better part of the last year and a half. And so that's what inspired this one.
Let's hear it. Grace Morrison, 95.9 WATD.
Walking Ghost, you lay down slow, too gone to know your bones, they close. Everybody knows that you're not ready. I hold your hand, baby, slow and steady. One small step and it's all over. I hope you know that you can get sober. Walking sleep, your dreams skin deep, bleeding love, too cold to touch. Everybody knows that you are fading, looking at a gravestone contemplating. One small step and it's all over. I hope you know that you can get sober. Don't want to write it down, the thoughts that steal your crown. Oh, everybody knows that you are fading, looking at a gravestone contemplating. One small step and it's all over. I hope you know that you can get sober.
Awesome. Grace Morrison on the tiny stage, 95.9 WATD. When you write a song about somebody, do you tell them it's about them?
Depends. It depends. In this case, I did because I wanted permission to talk about the struggle without naming them, because it's such a personal and scary thing to share. So yes, in that case, when we're talking about ex-boyfriends, not necessarily.
Have they ever realized that something is about them without knowing?
So I can only say for sure yes in one instance. There's a song on this album called Alice, and it's it's about the first boy who broke my heart.
Oh.
And we've remained friends. And so I told him, and he kind of said, I had it coming.
At least he knew.
He knew. But otherwise, I don't know.
Let's talk about working in the studio. One of the liner notes I read on the album here, you talk about John Evans as having the patience of Mr. Rogers. I love that.
Well, he does. And also like the calming vocalizations of Mr. Rogers. Like you can't be stressed around Mr. Rogers.
Exactly.
But you know, he's a formidable musician. He's worked with everybody. Like I looked at his website today and I hadn't realized he worked with Elton John. I mean, he's worked with everybody and he's just so quietly unassuming about it. I think in my
John
mind...
Evans, not Mr. Rogers.
Yes. I actually never met Mr. Rogers. But to have somebody on that level respect your work is just, I don't know, means a heck of a lot.
After so many singles and albums and projects that you worked on in the studio, what did you learn from making this album that's going to make future albums easier?
I went into it with a clear intention this time. The previous two, I kind of just had some willy-nilly songs, and I let John produce them however he saw fit. But this time, I had a clear idea of that I was making a country record, and I knew some of the production elements I wanted in it. So that was a big change. And even Alice is my favorite song on there. But the production on that one, I kind of had a hand in. So I was excited about that.
That's cool. I'm noticing the album credits on here with you. It's acoustic guitar, piano, electric guitar, and hand claps.
Yeah, the hand claps. Those are harder than you might think. And you have to keep doubling them.
That's cool.
I was really proud of my 2s and 4s.
You need to get a behind-the-scenes video put together.
I should have.
Talk about the band that's on the album.
Yes. So John Evans plays bass. He's the touring bassist for Tori Amos and has played on many of her records. So obviously he was playing bass on this, and he did all the electric guitar that I didn't do. And then Matthias Bossi, who I didn't know was kind of a celebrity. I told one of my cousins who lives in Sweden that I had Matthias Bossi on my record. He's like, what? The guy from Sleepytime Gorilla Museum? So it's Matthias Bossi, who actually also worked with St. Vincent, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
And then Lloyd Maines, who, if you've ever listened to country music, you've listened to Lloyd's playing. He's the father of Natalie Maines from the Chicks.
Okay.
But he's produced their records. He's a Grammy-winning producer himself. He's played with everybody. He's played on Maren Morris records, classic country guys like Jerry Jeff Walker.
Recording an album in a pandemic, was it everybody in the studio at once, or did you track this differently than most albums?
Well, no. We recorded this relatively the same as we had in the past, with the exception of I recorded all of my scratch tracks at home.
Okay.
So we kind of limited our time in a group as much as possible. Because in the past, I recorded scratches live with the bassist and the drummer. But otherwise, it was just either John and I in the studio or John and Matthias in the studio. And Lloyd just emailed his parts.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Let's continue on with the music and hear something else. What are we listening to next?
I'm going to do Free.
Okay. Grace Morrison is joining us tonight on the tiny stage, 95.9 WATD. It's all yours.
What the hell was I thinking of when I let you turn the key? My tongue is tight, my breath is short. I didn't let you get the best of me. I heard the tires rumble, I felt the earth shake. I knew my hands trembled. Maybe my biggest mistake is wanting to find a life not needing anyone else to be. So I'm free. It's just me, and I'm free. What the hell was I thinking of when I didn't call you it's just me, and I'm free.
Grace Morrison, 95.9 WATD. Talk us through that song. What's that one about?
Oh, gosh. So, it's about a couple of things. The groove of it I got because my dad desperately wanted me to be either a country or blues singer. He didn't really care. He didn't prioritize one over the other. But he always used to say to me, because I started performing when I was a teenager, he said, "No, Gracie, you got to get them toes tapping. Get the toes tapping." And he kind of gave me a complex. Like, I still can't play a show without staring at everyone's feet to make sure a toe is tapping, that I'm not a complete failure. So I wanted to write a toe tapper that my dad would have liked. And then I was laughing at myself because I definitely broke up with somebody one time because they spelled the word Saturday wrong, like with an E instead of a U. I can get not spelling Wednesday correctly, but Saturday is where I had to draw the line. And then I thought, thank goodness I wasn't so petty for all of my life, because I would have just like broken up with people for stupid reasons and been a lonely old cat lady.
That would be a great theme for a song, is, a country song, is I broke up with somebody because they spelled Saturday wrong.
I did it.
You need to write that.
Yeah, that song would have
Could be a B-side.
Yeah, and it would have to be really on the nose. There's humor there.
Oh, there definitely is. Absolutely.
So that's what that song is about. And my friend Lisa Bastoni, who's a fabulous singer-songwriter. Do you know Lisa?
I do.
She's amazing. She painted a lyric video for that one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it hasn't come out yet.
So, speaking of Lisa Bastoni, let's talk influences. Who are you listening to on not only the local scene, but the national scene as well?
I'm really tickled by this question. So I've done a couple of PR campaigns for this album, and they're always giving you interview questions, and one of them is, who are you listening to? What are your influences? And in my mind, I feel like people want a really deep artistic answer. The truth is, I'm listening to hits of the 80s.
Okay.
And ABBA.
You did, throughout the pandemic, a couple of live streams featuring local artists. Talk about how that experience was.
That's still going on. So, yeah, I started that September 14th was my first one. And it was really just born out of necessity. We all needed to find ways to reach new audiences. And I had all these singer-songwriters that I had never gotten to know or listen to perform, because in the real world, we're usually all performing on the same nights. So I called it my Virtual World Tour, and every Monday I have a guest come on my various social media platforms, and we do a song swap. And it has been such a gift getting to know so many beautiful artists.
That's amazing. How can people learn more about that?
Just follow me on Facebook or YouTube or Twitch.
Cool.
It's every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern.
What's a song you wish you had written?
A song I wish I had written. Well, this is so silly. Total Eclipse of the Heart, John.
Okay.
It's such a fabulous song. I put it up there with Bohemian Rhapsody.
Both of those songs are those songs, at least in Radioland, you put on when you have to go to the bathroom. Because they're about 7 minutes long each.
They are. But you know what I love about those songs? Is that they go to places that you would never expect, right? You listen to most songs on the radio and you can kind of anticipate where the song's going. Not with those two. But even though they go in unexpected places, it doesn't feel herky-jerky. They're just so wonderfully written.
And you mentioned earlier that you wrote songs for this album specifically that you could play solo. Mm-hmm. Both of those songs have such complex arrangements that I don't even think they can be played live, with a band.
I had that thought too, but I've come up with a version of Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Can we hear it?
It's on my YouTube channel.
Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. So
yes, you can.
We'll post that up on our Facebook page. Yeah. What's a song that you would wipe from the planet Earth? Your most hated song of all time?
Oh, I don't know if I have one. This is going to get me more detractors than I already have. But in my early 20s, I was playing any gig I can get. And I'm a pianist, and so I would do a lot of blues jams. And I just found, and I'm not saying this about all blues. This is really just blues jam blues. But they were all the same song.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And so that's not a specific song answer for you, but like that.
Well, like in the past, people have said like Baby Shark or the 1877 Cars for Kids jingle.
Oh, that's an awful. That's an awful.
WAP was another one that came up.
Oh, yeah. I don't like that word. But yeah, I'm going with boring blues.
Okay. Grace Morrison. What's your website if people want to file a complaint?
GraceMorrison.com.
We have time, I think, for 2 more songs. So what are we listening to next?
Oh, my goodness. John, I think I'll do Small Town Lament.
Okay. We're on the tiny stage, 95.9 WATD.
Tired of living in a small town, in the woods by the sea. I do one tiny little thing, and everybody knows me. So I smile at the man at the diner, I smile at the lady downtown. I do one tiny little thing, and word gets around. Sometimes I go drinking, I never go too far. No, I'm not thinking when I get back in my car. I breathe in deep and lustful, I breathe in 'cause it's good, I breathe in 'cause it's legal, and I think everybody should. I know, that's just the way it goes. I know. Whether you're up or down, word gets around. Word gets around. I'm tired of living in a small town, in the woods by the sea. I do one tiny little thing, and everybody knows me. So I smile at the maid at the diner, and I smile at the lady downtown. I do one tiny little thing, and word gets around.
Grace Morrison on the tiny stage, 95.9 WATD. What are some of those tiny little things?
Okay, so specifically what I was thinking about in that song was, we were talking about my footwear earlier, and I like many people, spent most of the pandemic in pink sweatpants and pink Crocs. And I found myself going to the store one day, like, really looking a fool. But I thought to myself, I've got a mask on. No one's going to know who I am. Everybody knew who I was that day. Everybody. So that's what I started with. Like, you cannot go out in Crocs and sweats in a tiny town because everyone's going to see you. Things of that nature,
Understood.
But really, the other thing I was thinking about is I helped my father-in-law with his Selectman campaign. And we live in a town of like 2,000 people. So it's a pretty small town. And my assessment is that people think that national politics is awful. But small town politics, let me just tell you, is worse.
Oh, it's vicious.
It's worse. It's awful. But I love small town living too. You know, that's why it's Small Town Lament. It's a love-hate relationship.
That's cool. You, for a number of years, were a music teacher.
Yes.
And I'm interested to know how your students influenced your music.
They kept me feeling like I was at least in touch with what was going on in the world culturally. You know, like so many artists I never would have heard of if it weren't for my students.
So there's more to music than just King Henry VIII.
There is more than Henry VIII, I must now admit. But there's not more to my world. Like, a good night for me, John, is putting my feet up and watching a historical documentary.
I love it. Do you miss teaching?
Yeah, oh yeah. Incredibly. I was just talking about that the other night. Because, you know, it's now that I'm a mom, I kind of had to choose. Before I was teaching full-time and playing full-time, and being a mom is also full-time, and there's only room for 2 full-time jobs on my plate.
Yes, absolutely.
But I miss the kids incredibly. There's something so incredibly fulfilling about having breakthrough moments with kids, or like watching a student realize that they can express their emotions through an instrument. It's just such a beautiful thing.
That is the voice of Grace Morrison. She's joining us tonight on the tiny stage on WATD. Her new album is called Daughter, and I think we have time for one more song. Does that work for you?
That works for me.
We'll do that right after this. 95.9 WATD. Stick around.
And now, back to Almost Famous on 95.9 WATD.
For the final time this evening, welcome back to the Almost Famous Tiny Stage on 95.9 WATD, introducing you to independent bands and musicians from across New England. Brought to you by Tiny & Sons Glass, I'm John Shea. For the final time tonight, we say hello to Grace Morrison. How you doing?
I am so happy.
I am too. I've missed you.
Can you see my little toes are tapping?
I can, yes. You and I always seem to cause trouble whenever you're on the show. I love it.
Oh, I always walk out of here with a smile on my face on cloud 9, John.
I think the first time you were here, I want to say it was like 2011, 2012.
I think you're right. That's gross that it was that long ago, but I think you're right. 10 years ago.
Because you had just done a radio show in Cambridge, and I was like, who is this person? And
yeah, my goodness.
I booked you right after that.
Good memory. And we felt like celebrities coming here.
Oh.
Like, you made us feel so cool.
Thank you. But anyway, you've got a new album out. It's called Daughter. Talk to us about that. Where is it available?
It's available everywhere you stream music.
Cool.
And just throwing this out there that if you want to follow me on Spotify, it makes a huge difference. Beyond just listening to a song, just clicking the follow button on any independent artist, it really, really helps us.
If somebody, say, doesn't want to stream this but wants to buy it, how do they do that?
GraceMorrison.com or a live show, if we're still allowed to do those. We'll
Yes, exactly. Well, the album is 12 songs. Were all 12 songs written specifically for the album, or was some of them kind of predating it a little bit?
So the Laurie McKenna co-write was written a little bit before.
That was the last time that you were here, actually. You had just written with her.
Yeah, because I was 8 months pregnant when I wrote that.
Yes. And I think, what's his name was like, what is your son's name? I'm blanking. Brayton. I think he was just a month or two old when you came on here.
That sounds right.
Because he was outside that door and I could kind of hear him crying faintly through the headphones while Scott was watching him.
Oh, he's a mama's boy.
That is great. So what are we closing out the night with?
Lone Star. I'm going to bring this full circle because we talked at the beginning about how I've never felt like I fit in anywhere. And so this is kind of a love song about how both my husband and I don't fit in anywhere.
Perfect. Thank you again, Grace. Get home safely. We'll talk to you soon. And best of luck promoting the new album.
Thank you.
95.9 WATD, Grace Morrison, one last time on the tiny stage.